Yo, 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 what's good, y'all? It's your boy P, my man Dan here. Another episode of the Fantasy Gods podcast where we're giving you guys that real, not that fake, making sure you guys are winning your leagues. And today we got one hell of a show here. Definitely going to be doing a deep dive in running back tiers, right? We're going to be going over the top 12 or so, maybe a little bit more, a little bit of a buffer. But kind of going over the tiers, how you should rank them, and where just other players fall. I mean, you guys already know Dan, but Dan, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, man. What's going on, guys? It's Dan from the Fantasy Gods, man. Follow us all over the place. If you guys want to check out, if you guys are joining us on TikTok, man, go over to YouTube, go over to Twitch, go over to
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, whatever you have handy, and follow the Fantasy Gods there, where you'll be able to see my man P and I discuss running back topics. If you guys want to kick it with me on TikTok, I have it live here. Go ahead and hit the comment section. We'll go ahead and answer your questions as they come in. But we are going to talk about running backs today. It's strictly running backs, and then whatever questions you guys got. But I'm here. I'm ready to roll. It's another edition of the Gods Cast. Let's get it.
Let's get it, baby. So before we jump into the running back tiers, I do want to go over some important kind of camp news and what's going on, right? So first things first, and Dan, you could tell me about this. Like, tell me how important it is to you. But over in we got Travis Etienne, the Jaguars camp. Travis Etienne is not labeled the RB1.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What do you think about that? What do you make of that?
Well, I think that at the end of the day, for Travis, I think he had an injury, in his rookie year, and I think that it's just more or less probably a coaching tactic. Hey, check it out, man. Like you still haven't earned anything yet, so we're gonna hold you back a little bit to keep that fire under you. Get him really motivated. I don't think he's gonna have a problem with that. I think that you know. The fact is, James Robinson coming off an injury, getting back. He's an undrafted free agent. He kind of earned his share. Dominated in his rookie year and the rookie season. So, Travis really hasn't earned anything. Now he's extremely talented, and we like what we see so far. But I think it's just more of a coaching ploy. I think at the end of the day, Travis will be the starter.
Dope, dope. Now, so you don't think he's being overdrafted by what they're saying, or because I know there's a lot of hype coming out about Travis Etienne, right? So is that something like on a scale from like 1 to 10? Uh, are you worried about it at all, or is it just some camp fodder to you?
I would say if I had to, if 10 is being the ultimate worry, I'm probably at around a 5. I feel like, he was a phenomenal prospect coming out of
Mm-hmm.
Clemson. Kind of reminded in a sense of like a Jamal Charles type, very speedy, can catch the ball. So, I mean, it's not surprising that, fully healthy, he's starting to dominate in camp. That's kind of what you want to see out of a prospect that was, again, a first round pick, balling out on Clemson. So we'd like to see what's happening. I mean, it would be a concern if he wasn't doing anything in camp, right? Like we
Yeah.
would be very concerned, like, whoa, like is this guy like, is he not healthy or is he just not that talented? Was he overshadowed by Clemson and how good of their offense was? So, but I mean, I expect Travis Etienne as a prospect coming out. I thought he was, a top shoot. I mean, if he came into the league, I thought he was at least top 15, and then with the upside for more. So, I think he's kind of
Mm-hmm.
going around that range now. But if you don't have a draft, if you're not drafting currently, wait on it. Just continue to watch the updates. I don't think he'll be playing in preseason, and if he does, it'll be in the third preseason game. So hopefully, um, you take advantage of the later drafts. If you guys are drafting later, take advantage of that. Watch what he does in preseason. Watch how he's used in the first half of that third game, because that's usually gives you a good indicator of how that team's going to play out. And then go from there. If he does well in that game and he's been doing well all of training camp, then
Mm-hmm.
and you're high on him, go for it.
Yeah, yeah. And going back to kind of like, I mean, because Doug Peterson's the coach there as well. Going back to how he ran the Eagles as a head coach, there were two running backs there, right? Where there was and help me out with his name, Jordan.
Howard.
Yeah, Jordan Howard was that early down back, but we've seen a lot of receptions from the set because he does like to throw to the running back there. So basically, I think it's at worst they are going to split, but I think a lot of the quality reps and quality, you know, to me, I don't know if it knocks down ETN significantly because I still think he's going to get a lot of catches in that offense, which is essentially what they're going to be using him for. As far as him getting the full workload, that may be something to consider. But yeah, when you say a 5, I'm probably around a 4, maybe even a 3. So,
For sure. Yeah.
but that's dope. Other news as well. Our boy Debo came out,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of talk when he's talking about contracts, saying that he doesn't want to run the rock. He came out stating that, hey, that's all just this camp talk, and I intend on that wide back, resuming that wide back position. So, in terms of where you're ranking him, does that impact it? Was it even affected how you ranked Debo based off those comments?
Yeah, I mean, anybody can say anything when you get paid, so,
Yeah,
uh,
that's right.
like, "Yeah, I'll do it now," all of a sudden. Um, but, no, I think that, I think that they are gonna lessen his load a little bit. I mean, you kinda
Mhm.
have to. At the end of the day, like, he's not a running back, he's built like one, and he can do that, position for, I'd say 5 carries a game. um,
Mhm.
which makes him very difficult to defend from a defensive standpoint. But I didn't really rank him any less or any worse. I think the biggest thing is it really comes down to Trey Lance. Like, are you a
Mhm.
believer? Are you not? If you are, then that Debo shouldn't have his ranking shouldn't have affected you at all.
Mhm.
Simply, if you are not a fan of Lance, or you're just kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna let someone else draft him. It's not that I'm not really high, but I'm not really low, but I'm just gonna fade Trey Lance, and I think that's where I am currently. I'm not a Niner fan, so I haven't been watching Trey Lance too carefully. I think I could see the upside. I absolutely see the upside.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm just, I'm an unbiased guy with I don't have any bias towards Trey Lance. I don't think he's gonna fail, but I don't see like superstar talent, the top 5. Like, I can see the ceiling, but then I look at reality and I go, I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna hate on the guy. I'm probably just fading that situation. So it makes me fade Debo Samuel, but I mean,
Mhm.
I don't hate anybody that takes Debo. I think he's gonna be great. I think he's gonna have enough touches to be a wide receiver 1. So lock in Debo Samuel as I would say top 10 wide receiver at minimum.
Yeah, yeah, I think he has a safe floor at the top 10. Personally, I knocked him down a bit. Just looking at the whole situation, originally I knocked him down a bit. Looking at that whole situation, they threw him in as that wide back position. It looked like it looked like because of injuries, right? And of a lack of running backs and just healthy bodies in that running back room last year. Then enter Debo Samuels. He starts, doing his thing. He starts cutting it up, heavy volume. Now, what was confusing during the contract talks, he was like, they were saying that he's saying that, he doesn't want to be used as that. He wants to be more of a traditional wide receiver. I thought that was going to knock down his value. But it was weird because during the season and even in the playoffs games, he's calling for Shanahan, "Hey, give me the rock. You know what we got to do, right?" So he came back and said that, "Hey, you look back at the season. That's what I wanted. I adopted that wide back position." They went and printed merch saying, "Hey, I'm wide back." So it's interesting that I don't think he's going to be used that heavily in the run game,
Mhm.
but I will say that in his contract, there are incentives saying, "Hey, you get X amount of rushing yards and X amount of rushing touchdowns. This is going to be part of your bonus for that." So that's dope. I am no longer fading him. I don't think he's going to be a top 3 wide
Mhm.
receiver like he was last year. But just like you said, right? I think he's safe in the top 10. I got him as my 7 or 8 at this point. So, but tune in, y'all. Updated rankings coming out. You'll be able to get the inside scoop on all that. But without further ado, let's jump into these running backs here.
Yeah, let's
So
get it.
yeah, let's get this. So, um, talking about tiers specifically, right? We got a lot of good running backs, And I want to know, Dan, from you, where does that first tier end? Like, who is all in tier one of the running backs here for you?
Yeah. So how I look at the tiers, I kind of rank it differently. You know, as far as tiers go, like tiers to me, it's like, okay, if you're in the tier one, to me, there's like, okay, you have elite upside, and there's no like question marks. That's how
Yeah.
I rank tier one. So for me, I have Taylor, who there's no question. Like he's healthy. He's gonna be the main guy in the offense. He has speed, size, can catch the ball. It doesn't catch the ball at an elite level, but he's going to be the centerpiece of that offense. Great offensive line, upgraded quarterback, barely,
Hmm.
but upgraded quarterback. And so I rank Taylor in that tier one. I'm going to rank McCaffrey in that tier one because of his immense upside. I think his immense upside is so great that his injuries are overshadowing um, the potential risk. Like the upside
Mm,
overshadows the risk to me. Like
yeah.
so, I have to rank him in tier one, and then I got Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is explosive. I think he's being slept on, and he catches the ball. And defense has got to be concerned about Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. So it's a good 1-2 punch on the inside and outside. Love
Hmm.
Dalvin Cook. I got Najee Harris as my fourth ranked running back. Going to see a ton of volume, catches the ball, upgraded at quarterback. They got another weapon of Pickens on the outside, which is going to help the box. It's
Pickens, that's your man.
yeah, and Pickens is my dude, man.
Yeah.
And then my last two is going to be Eckler. I just
Hmm.
feel like in Dynasty I'm probably selling Eckler, but in redraft I really like Eckler this year to ball out. Another strong year for Eckler, and then the last one is Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry for me, while he doesn't catch the ball a ton, he catches the ball enough, and he's going to get volume, and he's just a beast. So that is my tier one. And then it drops into tier two, which tier two has question marks but upside.
Now, yeah, you mentioned that question marks. To me personally, it's extremely hard for me to put CMC in it's extremely hard for me to put CMC in tier one, right? Like, I agree with you 100%. His upside is crazy, right? If
Mhm.
we can bank on him being healthy, he's the number one running back probably even the number one fantasy player, right? But I mean, you speak to this a lot, the the ideal size of a running back, right? Like he's a little smaller, right? He's strong, he's built, but his weight is still small. And the fact that they use him as much as they did, and you're seeing like these injuries, these like strange injuries that are just kind of piling up over the last few seasons.
Mhm.
To me, that's like, hey, there's a car's running. You're running that car into the dirt. Like if you're on if you race cars, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you're starting to race these cars. You got a fast car. It's dope. But after X amount of races, things just start falling apart, right? Things just start going wonky. I kind of feel that way about Christian McCaffrey. So as far as confidence goes, I don't know that he will hold up this
Mhm.
season. I don't know that I think his body has taken a toll because what is he like 20, what is he like
He's like
barely
still,
200?
yeah, yeah. It's not. Yeah. He was an interesting, like for me as a dynasty guy. Um, I've always had a question mark about McCaffrey when he came out. Now he met almost every metric that I look for. Um, and he still hit the weight metric. Like I like to see running backs at least over 195 pounds. That's like my absolute minimum threshold for when I'm evaluating running backs as
Mm-hmm.
rookies when they come out. But he also was on the lower end, which was 202 pounds. So I'd like to see those running backs that are like 207 to 210 or higher. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
want to ideally you want to see guys that are like 220. Like those are like the
Mm-hmm.
monster running backs, like the Taylors, um, the Mixons, like those are the guys that really are the guys that kind of can hold up to a workhorse type role. without getting injured. And McCaffrey is on a smaller side. He's a smaller back. His body mass is on the leaner side. Normally, you kind of want those thicker guys that have a body mass index of 30. He's at 28.2. So because if you're sturdy and you can take on these hits, you're able to be more durable. So, I mean, again, he hit every box that I look for, and I thought he was going to be. But I thought that there could be a concern with his weight, and for instance, it has panned out that way. Like there has been issues with he's had so many injuries over the past 2 seasons. In 2020, he had a high ankle sprain in week 2 that missed 6 games. In week 9, he had an AC joint, missed 3 games. Thigh injury in week 14, missed 4 games. And then in 2021, hamstring injury in week 3, missed 5 games. And then an ankle sprain in week 12, missed 5 games. The highest risk on that was the hamstring. Other than that, the other injuries were very mild. So you're okay. Like he's not like that's not too bad, but having that hamstring injury was tough.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a betting man, would you bet him to play the full season this upcoming season?
Well, for me, I would say, yeah, I could still see him. I mean, it looks like he's in phenomenal shape. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't look like he's, a person that doesn't take care of his body. I mean, I look at him in camp and I'm like, dude, this dude's jacked. Like, it's not like he's like a Leonard Fournette. Honestly, dude, saying out here, coming out at 240 pounds. I mean, he's jacked. Like McCaffrey takes care of himself, and he's a supreme athlete at Stanford, and
the
pro's pro. Like you don't hear anything negative about McCaffrey on the off season or outside of football. So, so I mean, I'm going to bet on the man. Yeah, I think he could stay healthy, but it depends. Depends on what the Carolina Panthers do. They got to create him more in space. They got to give him more catches. That those inside runs are going to take a toll on a 200-pound back.
Gotcha. Now you mentioned this guy Joe Mixon, right? What's keeping him outside of that top that tier 1 for you?
I think the biggest thing with Mixon for me is the fact that he doesn't catch the ball at an elite level, and his coaches don't want to see him as a third down back. And to be honest, I mean they're in Super Bowl mode, so like there's no real reason to push Joe Mixon to the max. Like I'm keeping it real. I would like him healthy for the playoffs and the championship. So, I'm not going to, he's 26 years old. He's, and that's kind of in his prime at this point for running backs. And, I want to save him. He's, he is an integral part of their championship path. And I think that, why would you want to give him more touches? And I think for the fantasy community, we're always interested in getting workhorse backs and this guy to do it all. And, and he has the skill set to do it. He was a phenomenal pass catcher coming out of Oklahoma in 2015. Could catch the ball at an elite rate. Something I was just like, wow, like this dude is something special with the ball in his hands. And I thought that I was like, you know what, this guy can be a top running back in the league. And he had the pass catching potential. So it was like, okay, he could be a workhorse, but it really hasn't panned out for him. But to be honest, I just don't think the Bengals really want him in that workhorse role to keep him healthy, because he has had injury concerns when he started. Only in the first 2 years, missed 2 games each season, and then in 2020, only played 6 games. So, why risk it for Mixon?
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, coming out like you said, right? Had he not gotten into those character issues, he probably would have been the number 2 running back coming out, right? So, we got Fantasy Dude in here chiming in. Y'all go check out Fantasy Dude. Hilarious, guys, really good content. He's taking Swift before Mixon this year, but also taking the top wide receivers before both those guys. Yeah, personally, I am I'm high on Mixon, but I'm also the type of guy who will take wide receivers before running backs as well. Like I like to take my wide receivers early. But we're gonna be going in on Swift a little bit today. I feel like. I mean, Swift is is definitely he's got a lot of hype around him.
Yeah.
Right. But there's some also, I think he, by the fantasy community, he may be getting hyped a lot, right? Like maybe even overhyped, right? Whereas you look at real football, right? Not just the fantasy football, like the coaches like to run Jamal Williams behind him as well. Like and if you're looking at that split, it is more of a more down the middle than what you may think, right? I mean, what do you think about Swift?
Yeah, he's polarizing. I mean, he's super
Mhm.
polarizing in drafts and in the fantasy community. Part of the fantasy community for me, I mean, the good things about Swift. Okay, I'm gonna give him some good things, and then I can point to the bad ones. So, kind of like a happy sandwich here. Well, so for Swift, right? Ideal size, right? He's a little bit smaller height wise than I'd like to see him because I usually like running backs are like 5'10" to 6 feet. So he's a
Mhm.
little small at 5'8". And what's crazy about this, a lot of people don't really think about it, but like you need a little bit of height because the guys in front of you, as far as
Yeah,
offensive line, are
yeah,
tall, right? So
yeah.
it's weird. It's weird when people clown me for like weight and height. When I always say that type of stuff, it's like it's real because you got to
Mhm.
be able to see over your offensive lineman, see where the defenders are, so that you're using your vision and your instincts to get to where you need to go. Now, Swift is very good at that because he ranks very high in yards created per touch.
Yeah.
Simply means that he's very good at seeing where the holes are going to be created. He'll hit the hole, and he has good vision. Okay, so that's number one. So he's very good at the position because I think vision is probably the most important aspect to a running back. You have
Now
to have.
let me ask you one thing regarding to that specific stat. Like, how much of that is influenced with like the screen passes or just those short passes? Does that also factor into inflating
Yeah,
those numbers of yard per
the,
touch?
the the metric yards created per touch is simply either you touch the ball via carry or you touch the ball when you're getting a pass. So
Yeah.
at that point, at wherever you catch it, so if you catch it behind the line, or you touch the ball on a carry, and that
Hmm.
counts for at the spot of the time that you touch it. What yards are you creating after that? Are you hopefully you're creating 2 to 3 yards. That's an elite level is getting past that 2 yard mark. So every
Mm.
time you touch the ball, you're getting at least 2 yards. And so, like I said, Swift does that at an elite level. The other good thing about Swift is he is also a phenomenal pass catcher. I think I kind of when he came out of Georgia, um, I ranked him as a light Kamara. I thought
Mm.
that he and Kamara are similar. I thought that Swift kind of had all the tools. Now, the other good thing about Swift is that love to see his offensive line. He's got Sewell. I mean, he's a monster. And then you're getting the weapons. Jameson Williams later on in the season. You got DJ
Yeah.
Chark now.
Hmm.
Obviously, Amara St. Brown. And then
Hawkinson.
Hawkinson. So you got a lot of weapons on the outside, a good offensive line, and then Goff. We know that Goff isn't that good, but give him some weapons, and I think that Goff had Todd Gurley, right? So
Yeah.
to me, it's like Goff, and Todd Gurley. Hey, it can work. So Swift and Gurley, I think he can put up a good year. I don't see RB1. I think there's a few people that see like he has RB1 ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I can't
Gotta
back
pump the
that.
brakes on that.
Could I
Yeah.
see like a top 8 season out of Swift? Yeah, I could see that. I think his floor is probably around 15 though. I think that's where the risk comes in with Swift. I don't, I just with that offense and all the mouths to feed and Jared Goff as your quarterback. So I don't see the touchdowns coming. I don't see him getting like I don't know. I don't see him getting like 10 touchdowns, 10 to 15 in that range. I don't see it.
Hmm.
I can see him getting like 8 total touchdowns. Just because
Mm.
the offense is just it's trending up, but it's still a fucking Lions, man. Like
Yeah.
like
That's
I
true.
see it. So to me, like I think the floor. If I was going to give a bad negative about Swift, I think the floor is real and it's lower than most people expect.
100%, man. Like you said, a polarizing player. Talented, yes. Electric, yes. But one thing that Williams is still playing a role in that offense, right? When it comes to real football, and when it comes to coaches saying, "Hey, you know what? I got to get. All I need is 3 yards." Like he's getting those touches, right?
Mhm.
So, and there are a lot of mouths to feed on that offense. It's slowly becoming a kind of like a legit team there.
Yeah.
Goff, we all see Goff as a lower end QB too. And I mean, that's a fact, right? He has supported two top 20 wide receivers before.
Yeah.
And Amon Ra also being a factor. They're talking about him playing some sort of role similar, I guess, to what Debo would playing, getting some runs out of the backfield or just like that short passing game. That's also going to be a factor. But no, I'm with you on that. Swift having a real floor that people need to watch out about, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, and like I said, I mean, I respect the Lions. They're putting together a unit that's like, okay, it's respectable now. Like they're trending in the right direction. It's just, we may have to wait another year on Swift, and we'd like to see him, a little bit more. But we've seen the flashes, and he averaged, I think it was like 15 or 16 points a game last year. So I mean, that's really good for a running back. Like that was top 8 last year. And I think he could put in a similar season. And that's not bad. Like that's top 8 is cool. Like people are just expecting him to be like the top 1. Like, no, like you're not gonna be the top running back. It's just no, I'm good.
Yeah. So going back to that first tier. Now for me, for me personally, I have to, it's smaller for me, right? So tier 1, really strong on this position is these, like, I like running backs in that first tier to have 0 question marks, right?
Okay.
Something that's legit. Now, I got to knock CMC out of that tier 1, right? Like, I know, I get it. He is CMC. We know who he is, the league winner when he's healthy, but that's that when he's healthy, right? Like, if I'm drafting anywhere in the top 7, maybe even just in the first round, when I look at CMC and I like, let's say if I'm at 7 and CMC falls to me, I think I'm going another route because like that's a lot that, your first round pick, if he gets hurt, the same track record that he had. I know injuries happen. I get that injuries happen, but with what you were saying, him being a smaller frame and just how heavily he was used, could he be wearing down? Could this be like that situation? We've seen it happen with players all the time. And if that's the biggest question, like, if he's playing, he's playing. But that's a big if for a first round pick. So for that reason, I wouldn't put him in my top tier. Now, of course, I got JT. Dalvin is in my top tier. Yeah, they're healthy right now. I get that they're healthy right now, but good. But yeah, just going to my top tier, I got JT in there. Of course, no question marks. High ceiling, high floor, and I think he's going to take a step up this year. I got Dalvin. I like what they're doing over there. I like what they're saying about him in camp. Looking to get him a lot more catches. And Dalvin is just that guy where it's like, you're watching him and he got elite vision.
Right.
He's hitting these holes, and when he's hitting that hole, he's gone. So if you throw more catches in there, and it looks like it's going to be centered around the pass a lot more, I like that. I like that for Dalvin. Of course, I'm an Eckler guy, and I don't think he's going to have the same workload as he did last year because Eckler too is a smaller guy, right? He is a smaller body, and I don't know if he will definitely be like healthy the entire season. I think that they're making their draft is intended to kind of take some rushing off of his shoulders. Now he's still going to be crazy in the pass game, which is what I like and which is what I have him up there. And then King Henry, right? Like he's huge, crazy back. He's been used a lot, but I think his body can hold it at least for one more season. And then that's my tier 1.
Yeah.
right? So
I
that's
feel
my
it, dude.
tier run.
I like it. I mean, that makes sense, dude. I mean, it's tough. Like when you get hurt, like I've drafted McCaffrey. I think he was in 2 of my leagues last year, and it was just, it's upsetting. It's upsetting to like, you expect a certain level of production. You expect him to, I mean, I expect nobody to get injured. I don't like injuries at all. Like, I mean,
Yeah, we don't like them over
no
here.
injuries.
No.
I don't, and shout outs to Tim Patrick. Hopefully he comes out healthier and stronger. It sucks because I had Tim Patrick as like a sleeper, like late guy that you can get,
Yeah.
and he was very productive last year, and he was actually more productive than Jerry Jeudy last year. So, it sucks for him, and I hope he recovers very quickly. But yeah, dude, it is tough, man. It's really tough. Let's answer this question. I got a couple questions, and then we'll go back into our running back. So
Let's
I
do
have
it.
it's a third round keeper, and they have the 9th pick. Should I go receiver, or try to stay running back in the first round? For me, it depends on who you get at the 9th pick, right? So if you can get one of our tier 1 running backs at pick 9, go for it. Just lock in Swift and that running back, and you're good to go. And then I would just load up on receivers the rest of the way. Is usually kind of how that would work in those keeper leagues. So keepers are always different. I always pull out different strategies because you just never know with what value you have as a keeper. So in that case, I would, if a tier 1 running back were to fall, take that. But other than that, I think I'd play hero ball, hero running back. Just have Swift as your RB1. Go with an elite receiver because probably by pick 9 you're going to get like a Jamar Chase or even Jefferson could fall that far, and then you're good. Another question that we had a few. Sorry, man. Thoughts on Hurts and the Brown stack. So we're going to talk about running backs, but a quick answer to this question. I really like AJ Brown. If you guys have been following me on TikTok, I made a lot of videos about AJ Brown. I'm very, very high on AJ. So I love that stack. If you can get that stack for value, which is late second, early third for AJ Brown, and then Hurts. I'm assuming you're stacking him a little bit later, so around 6 to 7 in that range. Probably a little bit later for Hurts. I don't know exactly what kind of QB system. If you're super flex or QB1, if you're super flex, you're going to probably have to take him in the 3rd or 4th round. But if you're 1 QB, wait 7th round or greater, hopefully. But absolutely love the AJ Brown and Hurts stack. For me, that's just
Yeah, man. I mean, I love that stack too. I think that they're going to go. I think they got AJ Brown for a reason. I mean, looking at that team, they were just like a wide receiver 1 away, not necessarily wide receiver 1 away, but their biggest need on offense was a number 1 wide receiver. Yeah. So, they paid him. They gave up some picks for him. And I mean, hey, like they're definitely going to utilize the hell out of him. Right. Mm-hmm. So I like that stack because you're going to get the volume with AJ Brown, in my opinion. Also, that running back or that those rushing upside for that quarterback is going to be dope. So I think it's going to be a whole lot of AJ Brown and a whole lot of Jalen Hurts in the red zone. So I think you're winning. Going back to that other question with the Swift as the keeper here, appreciate the question. Bro, it's Damian. Personally, me, right? And if you know what I'm about, I'm about reaching for a top tight end, right? So if you have Swift as a keeper in the 3rd round, I think that's the perfect setup. Me personally, what I'm doing is I am going wide receiver in the 1st round. And then I am circling back and hoping, because if it's like a 10-team league, then I'm circling back and getting Kelce. If it's a 12-team league, I may get Kelce in the 1st round and then circle back and get any one of the other, probably if it's Jamar Chase on the back end, Diggs, Adams, any of those wide receivers, because that to me would be a dope setup because you're locking in a top tight end for this year. Speaking about redraft, locking in a top tight end that gives you a crazy advantage. You're killing that position outside of one other team, which is probably going to get Pitts. So really high on Pitts as well. But that's the route that I would go personally. If you go heavy RB, that's good. But why mess up a good situation?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into the tier two, Dan. Let me know who you got in your tier two. I know you mentioned Mixon and Swift, but go ahead, just rattle off
Yeah.
the tier two.
So my tier two, how I rank it is simply that these guys are elite at what they do, but there is a question mark, some sort of question mark. So in my tier two, I got Saquon, Alvin Kamara, Swift, Mixon, Nick Chubb, Javante, and Aaron Jones. That rounds out my tier two.
Wait,
Uh,
can you say that? Say that.
yeah.
The last.
So
The
I
last.
got
Okay.
Saquon, Kamara,
Okay. Yeah.
Swift, Mixon, Nick Chubb, Javante, and Aaron Jones. Okay, so I can go into detail about each one. So with Saquon Barkley, okay, it's obvious that Saquon has he hasn't been good, right? Let's just keep it real. Like he hasn't been this Saquon that I feel like he can be. But for me, I'm not. I'm just not passing on this guy. I just can't. Maybe I'm just stubborn, man. Like I don't know. I guess I'm just like the most stubborn ever. The past 3 years, 2019 played 13 games, had 1,000 yards,
Mhm.
52 receptions, 400 yards passing, and 8 touchdowns. So like he was a top 7 running back. But in 2020, he only played 2 games.
Mhm.
ACL injury. It sucks. And then came back in 2021. Um, Almost 600 yards, 41 receptions, 4 touchdowns. He was an RB3.
Mhm.
So we know he can catch the ball. He can catch the ball at elite level. He can catch the ball at an Eckler level, McCaffrey level,
Oh yeah.
Kamara level, right? Like
Mhm.
that's his role of catching the ball is locked in.
Yeah.
In the offseason, looks extremely shredded, looks healthy, and saying all the right things. The Giants upgraded, a bunch of weapons is still there with Kadarius Toney,
Mhm.
coming back from injury. Uh, they drafted well, got the offensive tackle and new coaching. So there's a lot to like about Saquon, but there's a lot of risk. So to me, it's just your risk tolerance. Um,
Mhm.
I'm snatching up all the Saquon because I'm that way. But I had to rank him in my tier two. That's just kind of how it was. The next one is Kamara. Now Kamara hasn't had an ounce of legal troubles yet. They pushed it back another 60 days. But
Mhm.
that's kind of where I have like a little worry because it's like, okay, like, it's 60 days till his court hearings. That's 2 months. So that means he's going to play in the first probably 3 to 4 games
Mm.
without even getting, heard. But then it's like, okay, well, then, if he gets in trouble and the league then suspends him after that, now you're missing him in the middle or potentially in the playoffs. So it's
Mhm.
like he is a tier one running back, no doubt. If there was no legal issues, I would rank him higher than Eckler. I would rank him higher than Henry
Yeah.
because I just think look, Kamara is he's so good. Like I mean there's not too many running backs in the league that could score 6 touchdowns on Christmas. I mean, that's always
I
going.
played against him that week. I played
Yeah, I
against, and
played
I
against him
still pulled it
too.
out, baby. I
It
pulled
hurt.
it out.
It hurts. I played against him and lost, and I played with him and lost. Like that's how horrible that
Oh,
but it always is
damn.
gonna it's always gonna stick with me, right? So
Yeah.
uh, so Kamara is just that dude. Like, and then with that Saints offense, Mike Thomas, Olave, Landry, and then Winston, like everything could be set up for if the no legal issues. I could see Kamara being the number one running back. I just like everything is set up for him to do that.
Now let me ask
Um,
you something about Kamara really quick,
but
right? Now we seen what he was doing with Breeze in terms of the catching game, right? Breeze was peppering him. Of course, that in that stage in Breeze's career, he wasn't really going downfield that much. We seen when he transitioned to Winston and even Taysom Hill because Winston got injured or whatnot, but and that other guy. But anyways, we seen his catches scale down. Does that concern you at all about him?
at the end of the day, like I look at it like this, dude. Kamara is an elite player,
Mm-hmm.
and elite players find a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's like, okay, there was games with Taysom Hill, but there also was games with Taysom Hill where he scored 4 touchdowns. So, like, to me, it's, is he going to have some bad games? Sure, but you can't bench the guy. He has weak winning upside. Like, he can
100%.
just take over your matchup against your opponent any time he touches the ball. So to me, it's like I don't really worry about that. He's like, now if he was like an Aaron Jones, or if he was a James Conner, that's huge, because they're just not as talented as Kamara. But for me, it's like, okay. And then I got DeAndre Swift. We touched bases about Swift. I don't have to go into detail there. Joe Mixon, we talked about, where it's like, we still have that the catches aren't there, and the coaches are not really trying to give him a full workload, which is understandable. It's fine. Nick Chubb, for me, an elite rusher of the football. You're probably going to get 80 yards to 100 yards, but you're not going to get any receptions, and you got to hope that you get a touchdown here and there. And he's splitting the work with Kareem Hunt, so that's kind of my question mark. And now you got Deshaun Watson out for 6 weeks, so that limits his touchdown upside. Javonte Williams, would love to see him get all the carries, but everything, suggests that he's still going to lose 40%. I still think that's okay. I still think Javonte but I'd like to see him catch the ball more. So, I don't know. It's hard to predict what he's going to do. Now, if he balls out in the preseason, he's getting all the catches in the third game, and it's like, okay, this guy's getting a massive touch share, then I might put Javonte a little bit higher, but I've seen him play and is good. Like when he gets the ball, he's a load, man. It's hard to tackle that dude. He's stocky and big. And then you got Aaron Jones, who I think is a little bit older, should get a lot of work and some pass catching, but then, where is he going to be at the goal line with AJ Dillon in the fold? No Devontae Adams, so that, I think the tension is going to be a little bit more on Aaron Jones. And like I said, he's a little bit older, so it's like, okay, getting all those touches, how's that going to affect your body? Are you going to break down like a McCaffrey has if you get those touches? And I think for Aaron Jones, for me personally, I think he's in a contract year, no? Or is he?
This is his last. This is his last year in Green Bay. So he's got something to prove.
I think Green Bay has a prime opportunity to just run him to the ground, and then doesn't matter with him. And then I think he's 208, so he's a little bit bigger than McCaffrey, but I just think that and I said on a previous podcast, I think we talked about this earlier, but he's had a lot of injuries. And just to reiterate, in 2017, missed 3 games the MCL. 2018 was a knee sprain, missed 2 games. 2020 was 2 games for a calf sprain. 2021 was a knee injury and an MCL. Most of that was simply they were light injuries, but but he's had a lot, and it's like, okay, well, wear and tear on the body over time, you might get a serious one. So I think he's a candidate, and James Conner as a candidate for the top guys that are, have the odds against him for an injury. And we pray that he doesn't get injured. We're not wishing injury.
We're not wishing injuries on anybody.
But it's kind of like, okay, you kind of have to see the history, and you're going to like, oh no, got to be very careful.
Now, you touched on this a little bit, right? And for our view, I mean, we have a lot of people who are watching us who are maybe newer, just not as advanced, right, in terms of just fantasy knowledge. Now, you're talking about Aaron Jones. You mentioned a few times he's older, right? So talk about like the RB life, a life cycle, right? Like
So for me, and when I talk about age and stuff like that, I'm a dynasty player, at heart. Like as much as I love redraft, I love dynasty even more. So I tend to look for trends, right? So the typical trend of a running back, their last usual good productive year is simply around 27 to 28 years old. That's usually the basis. Now you're gonna have gods here and there where it's like it's AP, and AP was a freak of nature, right? So, and it's just like even Derrick Henry, I think he could probably go 1 to 2 more years. I mean, he just looks. I mean, I looked at him in camp, and I'm like, this dude's
crazy
monster.
Oh my God,
he's a monster, dude. Like of anybody that can kind of just continue it, continue to be productive at a good age for the running back position, it's probably Derrick Henry, and he's 28 and a half. And
Derrick Henry's 28 and a half.
28 and a half.
Damn. I thought he was like 20. Oh, wow.
300 carries in 2019, 378 in 2020, 219. So like he's had carries.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are thinking, oh, now is the time he's breaking down. But, I think it was just a kind of a freak injury for him last year with his foot. But it was a major injury. It was a foot fracture, and that constitutes a high severity of injury. So it kind of makes me think. But throughout his course of his career, before that fracture, okay, he's missed one game. One game.
Yeah.
So he could take care of his body. He could take a pounding. He could deliver a pounding as well. And so to me, it's like, of the people that can make it past 28, it's Derrick Henry.
That's facts. That's facts. Now, kind of going back to this second tier, are you saying Javonte's in that tier or no?
He's in my second tier. Yes.
He's in your tier 2. Okay. Yeah. And just for clarification for those who are watching, when we're breaking these down into tiers, we're not saying that, hey, tier 1 is all of the RB1s, and then tier 2 are the RB2s. No, we're just breaking them down into different tiers and different groups. So for myself, my first tier, again, is a lot smaller, right? Mm-hmm. And then tier 2, I have to start with CMC just off of the talent, right? Because these are people with question marks. Mm-hmm. I also have Dalvin in there. Excuse me, not Dalvin, Alvin Kamara. But before Alvin Kamara, and these are not in any specific ranking, I'm just giving you people in that tier 2. I have Najee in that tier 2, right? Mm-hmm. High in that tier 2, and he's growing on me. I just don't want to put him in that elite level just yet. Mm-hmm. But he's pretty damn close. Justin makes some really good points on him and how just kind of Pittsburgh uses the running back position in general. Yeah. I don't see that changing. He is a bigger back, a little older for being a second-year running back, mm-hmm. but in terms of redraft, definitely safe. My only questions for that is no questions really about the talent, or maybe not even the uses as much. I don't think he's going to be getting peppered with catches, but I mean, when you put a team that has a rookie quarterback, or Trubisky, which is Trubisky's fucking trash in my opinion. Yeah. The O-line is not good, right? They're probably a bottom 10 unit, right?
Yeah.
So those two things, and then defense is not all that nice either. They got a good pass rusher. They have some good pieces, but as a unit, they may not be as good. So my question on him is, how many top running backs have succeeded when the team and their surrounding units around them are subpar, right? There's not many going back and look. I mean, you've seen Todd Gurley with the Rams way back when, his rookie year coming out. But outside of that, there's not really many that are in that top tier. That's why me personally, I got to give him a step back, because that's one of the biggest questions. As far as Alvin goes, hey, listen, if the legal trouble wasn't there, I mean, you hit it on it now. If the legal trouble wasn't there, he'd be in my tier 1. Mm-hmm. I know he has a really good legal team. So we'll see how that pans out. And then you're going to put, I got CMC there. I'm really high on Saquon as well. The only questions are his health. But unlike CMC, the injuries that have happened to Saquon, like he had he had an ACL injury, and that happens to backs, right? Last year he tried to come back a little earlier. You could tell he still wasn't 100% healthy, but he still played, right? And let's just say if Garoppolo gets traded to the Giants, then I think his catches are definitely going to go even higher. So you got a lot of injuries coming back from that offense. They got Dable running the head coaching gig. Let's see what he can do there. The gods, Johnny Talks, you know what's up, baby. But yeah, Saquon is up there for me. I'm not concerned about him and his body breaking down like I am with other running backs. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to see a return of top 5 Saquon. So still heading that list. And then, of course, I got Mix in there. You made some really valid points, and I feel the same. If they had used him in the third down back, in that third down role often, getting those catches, I would put him in my tier 1. Yeah. I got him really close to Henry. Swift as well. We talked a lot about Swift. And then that's where my tier 2 would end, right? I know you mentioned Aaron Jones in there. Aaron Jones to me would fall in that third tier. And the reason why I say that is because, there is some injury history. But the way that they run is similar to how the Niners run. You can plug somebody in there in that zone scheme and they can be productive, right? So he excels in that. But he also has a huge running back behind him, which – he looks like he's going to be the future there. So, this is the last year in Green Bay. And another point that you hit on, which was money, they can definitely run his ass to the ground and utilize him heavily, right? Which is what it looks like it's on the case for both of those running backs.
Right.
But whereas I see it as it's going to be more of an even split, right? So, in Dynasty, you want to get him off. I traded for him in Dynasty in one of my leagues. But at the same time, shout out Subtitle Chip. We appreciate you, man. Keep them coming. But at the same time, Aaron Jones, he has those injury histories. So if they are running him if they're utilizing him like hell, that's one of the things that come up, right? If he's fully healthy, then great, dope. Put him up in that tier 2. But I think that split is going to be more of an even split versus versus like him being spelled and him being. It's not. I don't think it's going to be a 70-30 split. I think it's going to be more 60-40, even maybe in 50-50. So, for that reason, I would put him in that in the heading the tier 3, right? So,
we got a couple questions for Johnny. Is Tyler Algier a fade even Dynasty? For me, I already made a video about this. Johnny, go check it out on our TikTok page. But for me, he's absolutely a fade. In most Dynasty formats, you want to target running backs that are drafted within the first 3 rounds. You may make exceptions for receivers or even tight ends that are drafted in the 4th round. But you're playing the odds, man. You're playing the odds of a 5th round pick doing something, So I've seen Tyler Algier be drafted in the 2nd round in dynasty drafts. And to me, it's like, why? Speaking of Aaron Jones in the last, 10 years really was a 5th round running back that has beat the odds. He's the only running back that has averaged over 12 points multiple seasons. There's only been 9 out of the last 10 years running backs that have been drafted in the 5th round that have only put up 12 points in one season. So, Tyler Algier could put up 12 points a game or more in one season. But then he's still an outlier. You're going to take 9 out of let's say 34 or 35 running backs that have been drafted, and you're just hoping for one, and then you're trying to look for the next Aaron Jones. He's not the next Aaron Jones. So to me, it's like if you drafted him, trade him away. I don't care what he does. If he hits, then congrats. That dude's an outlier. I'm not touching rookie running backs that are that way. Thoughts on the Miami Dolphins situation? So for the running back position, we're going to stay on running backs. For me, it's Chase Edmonds and the rest. I'm not really interested in really anybody else. P, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, me and Justin, we did a live kind of battling about this. In reality, I was definitely making an argument for the other guy. Yeah, my mind is crazy. I can't think of his name from the Niners last year, but it is Chase Edmonds, right? They're invested in him. Chase Edmonds is the guy there. They have a lot of bodies there, but in that you got a first-time head coach. They tend to do things like that. they want to have somebody who Raheem Mostert. They want to have somebody like Raheem Mostert who knows that offense. But he's more there. Yeah, he'll fill in. I mean, Raheem Mostert's probably he's Mr. Glass. We pray he doesn't get hurt, but you know what happens. But he's going to be more there to kind of like educate these other backs on how that scheme is run, right? Mm-hmm. Like you may see him early in the season, but 100%, right? What tier would we put Saquon in? I don't know if you've been listening. We both got him in tier 2. Got him in a bounce back year too. Definitely. You guys, don't be scared of drafting Saquon. Don't be scared of him. He is an elite talent, right? And like Dan said, elite talents, they know when to come up. They make their way, right? So yeah, definitely don't be scared to draft him. The injuries that he had weren't freak injuries. It's not signs of his body breaking down. He's still young, the original Quadzilla. And he's a Swiss Army knife, baby. He can definitely do it all.
Yeah, I'm big on Saquon this year, and if I get burned again, oh well. Like I'm not worried about it. Like it's the fact that if I pass on him and he goes crazy, is it's going to haunt me forever. So I'd rather just take him and just hope to God he stays healthy. So I want to answer this last question. It's kind of last question, and then we'll go into the tier 3 to tier 4 running backs. Who do you like the most? And then we'll kind of wrap it up for the show today. But I want to answer this question because it's a dynasty question. I love dynasty. So for me, first time playing dynasty, how different should I draft? Grab a stud QB tight end sooner than redraft. PPR 1 QB league. Okay, so 1 QB league, we're fading the quarterbacks. So we're not going to draft them early.
Wait.
And in dynasty for me, okay, this is just for me. It depends on what do you want out of a dynasty league. For me, I am a guy that doesn't really care about winning year 1. I've never been that way. I've never been that way in dynasty. I've never been that way, right? Mm-hmm. And has it worked out in the past? Nah, sometimes not. I like to win or be competitive every year. Okay, I want to at least make the playoffs every year. So I don't necessarily look to go to the win. I just look to get in the playoffs and then just see what happens. Because most of the time when you're in the playoffs, it all depends on matchups, luck, and injuries, right? You really can't control winning in the playoffs. It's simply just, do you have the best matchups? Do you have the best injuries? And are you going to get a little bit of a luck? So as long as you're consistent in the playoffs, you can then mold your team to push it over the edge or do a rebuild, this, that, and the other. So just consistently make the playoffs. You're going to be good. How do I do that? So for me, I'm going to build around wide receivers. So you have to build around wide receivers early and often. Young, good, productive wide receivers. Build around those guys early. So the first 3 to 4, even 5 picks, I wouldn't hate you if you went wide receiver all 5 picks. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh.
Because at that point, wide receivers are the most stable. They have upside. They're there for the long term. So for me, I've done a recent dynasty draft where I went Jefferson, I went CeeDee Lamb, came back and got trying to remember who I got, DK Metcalf, came back, got Pittman, and then came back and got Terry McLaurin. So that 5 right there is just solidified. I don't really even need to draft a wide receiver anymore. Right? I locked in those 5. Those 5 are going to carry me for a good 5 to 6 years. And then you go from there. So if you could lock in Pitts or Andrews, I would say go after those guys. I wouldn't if you're talking about a tight end, because it's very the tight end position is the 5 guys in redraft and no one else. Like bad for tight end. So if you can lock in Pitts or Andrews, most of those guys are the youngest out of them. I would say I could see the argument for Kittle, but I'm not drafting Kelsey.
Yeah,
Dynasty. No. Not drafting Kelsey. I'm not drafting Waller in Dynasty.
No.
So you can make the argument for Kittle. but I'm going to go Pitts and Andrews. Those two guys they're young, and you know what you're getting out of them. The scheme is there, and Pitts should be the next.
Pitts is the one.
He is the one.
Pitts is the one. Let me ask you something, Dan. What's the earliest in a startup dynasty league, like Subtitle Chip is talking about? What's the earliest you're drafting your tight end? Like, not your tight end. What's the earliest you're drafting either Pitts or Andrews?
If I miss out on Andrews or Pitts.
No. I want to know what's the earliest you're drafting. What's the earliest are you drafting Pitts? Forget Andrews right now.
Back half of the first round.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about, baby.
I would draft Pitts in the back half of the first. So to me, I think the thing is you lock in Pitts as your tight end one, right? For dynasty. You have a competitive advantage because the tight end position is just god awful. It's horrible, right? Terrible. But if you lock in Pitts, right, you don't have, and he's 21, 22 years old. I think he's 22. Look what the age of Travis Kelce is, right? So you have 10 years, 10 years of a elite tight end, 10 years, right? So you never have to draft another tight end really again. Like you can even play a zero on Pitts' bye week and still get by. Like you don't need a tight end anymore. Like it's good. So if you draft Pitts, the rest of the draft, I wouldn't even draft the tight end, bro. I mean, really. I mean, yes, you're going to draft one for his bye week or whatnot, getting Njoku or Irv Smith or Cole Kmet, whatever. But I mean, you really don't. That's the beauty about getting Pitts or Andrews. It's like you lock those guys in, you never have to worry about it. And I think it's Pitts because Andrews has had some health scares early in his career. So I think it's still Pitts as your number one if you get that guy in the back half of the first round. But you're not taking Pitts over like a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
So if those guys are there, you got to take those guys. But really, I would take Pitts over like long term and seeing the value. I would take Pitts over like CeeDee Lamb. I would take Pitts over like even Stephon Diggs or AJ Brown or guys like that. I would still take Pitts because I just think that long term. And the fact that he's elite at the position that's so scarce, you have to value it that way in Dynasty. You have to. And then that way you lock him in, you set it and forget it, and never worry about tight end.
Never worry about tight end. Now, me specifically, a lot of great insight. You definitely want to, and I'm going to ask you a question on this later. But yeah, I would reach on Pitts. Definitely back into the first round. Pitts is where you want to be at tight end. He should be a target in Dynasty because when we're talking about like elite production, imagine what Kelce's doing now and what Kelce has been doing the past X amount of years. We think and we see Pitts being similar to that, but start at such a young age, just based off what he's shown, him being the next Kelce. So definitely reach on Pitts. I'm all about that. One quarterback leagues, you can fade the quarterback position. There's always going to be somebody there. Don't worry about all these young guys. Don't worry about all this stuff. There's always going to be somebody you can stream in a one quarterback league, right? And you can always wait on that. But now Dan, talk as far as Dynasty goes, talk about the difference in shelf life between a wide receiver and a running back and why you're prioritizing. I know you touched on it, but talk about the difference in shelf life in terms of years so they can have a good understanding.
Well, yeah. So I think that it's really at the end of the day, the shelf life is very, very long for a wide receiver. I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there. Like, look at Justin Jefferson, right? Mm-hmm. Like let's just go with the ultimate, like he is probably, to me, he's probably in a tier, right outside, like, okay, in a one quarterback league, he's probably the most valuable dynasty pieces as there is.
Yeah.
I think you can rank him one in a one quarterback league. If it's a super flex, I think I could see Allen, Herbert, and Patrick Mahomes in any order, whatever order you want to pick it. But if it's one quarterback league, I think you almost got to look at Justin Jefferson and go, this dude is the one, right? So I mean, as his rookie year, he was a top 9 receiver. Rookie, top 9. Last year, top 4, right? And he's still, 23 and a half years old. So, he is just
crazy.
yeah, he's 23. So you look at guys like Davante Adams, right? So Davante right now, I believe he's 29 years old. We still project him for a wide receiver 1 season.
Yeah.
And really probably a top 5 season.
5.
Yeah, 5. Like, so to me, Davante Adams already, right? That's 29. So Justin Jefferson's 23. That's 6 years plus the 2 that you already had him. So that's already 8 years. And that's not, I think, Keenan Allen's 30, and I think he could still hit a top 12 season where he's at, so that's another year. So that's 9 years. And then, 31 is kind of where Julio kind of broke down. So you're getting guys for 10 years. I mean, really, the elite guys are going to go 10 years.
Yep.
So the biggest thing in Dynasty is you want to prolong your team's competitiveness. So, like, if you load up on a bunch of running backs, right? Saquon's 25, and he's as elite prospect as he was coming out, and then he hit it in his rookie year. You're like, damn, this dude's the shit.
Yeah.
Look where he is now. It's like, I love Saquon. I'm a big believer in Saquon, but for Dynasty, he was a horrible investment, especially after year 1, right? So it's like, as good as he is, the running back position just tends to get hurt too often. And so like I said, look at Davante Adams. He's one of the best Dynasty assets from when he started, when he came out in 2023. Or sorry, not 2013, right? It was 2014 or 2013. I can't. But
yeah,
regardless, an incredible asset over the last 10 years. So you have to start loading up wide receivers, and then the cool thing is you can always find a running back. That's the cool thing about Dynasty is like the rookie running backs that come in. Like this year is going to be Breece Hall for the main one. So maybe you can't find any other running backs that are going to be there. Maybe Kenneth Walker, Rashard White, James Cook. Like those guys will be okay. In 2020 though, you had tons of running backs. You had Gibson, Akers, Clyde, Taylor, Swift. I mean, the list goes on and on, like, of somewhat productive backs. So if you not say that everybody's going to be a Jonathan Taylor, but if you put like guys like Antonio Gibson or Cam Akers in your RB1, RB2 slot, where you've already established, hey, I got Justin Jefferson, I got AJ Brown, I got CeeDee Lamb, like that just makes your team even better. So like even prevalent this year, in my opinion, I think the 2023 class has a ton of running backs coming out. So it's almost like in most dynasty leagues that start up this year, I definitely recommend loading up on wide receivers, take the stud running backs next year, and you're set. You are literally set for the next 3 to 5 years of being very competitive, going deep in the playoffs. You're making playoffs for sure. And and with that running back class, you're pushing for a title already in year 2. So you may have to tank year 1. Some people view it differently than I do, but you're locked and loaded for the next 5 years after that 2023 class. If you just nail running backs, because you don't need to draft receivers, you already got them, and you just go for it. So that's just how I view it.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's definitely a dope perspective. If you're going to take anything from that, if you're setting it up, heavy wide receiver, get Pitts at any cost, fade the quarterback, and just get some serviceable running backs, right? So there's a good amount of those here. But yeah, no. Now listen, guys, we can talk about RB tiers. There's definitely a lot more to go around. But we're going to save the tier 3 and tier 4 for the next show. We may even speed it up a little bit because we have a lot of content to go over. After tiers, after RBs, we got wide receivers, we got quarterbacks, we got it all, baby. But no matter what, y'all, tap in. My man subtitled, hey, baby, that's what we're here to do, man. Dynasty Dan right here. That should be his name, man. He got it all for you. But check this out, man. We appreciate the love, 100%. But yo, tap into the page. If you don't follow us on TikTok, you better hit that follow button. Twitter, our personal TikToks, YouTube. You guys get us up there on YouTube so we can keep spreading the love. But also, we could be a secret weapon, man. We're dropping that knowledge on you guys. And what's dope about us, the last thing I want to say is, we don't follow the trends here. We're giving it to you guys real. This is coming from experience. We've been playing Dynasty for the over a decade, man. We've been rocking this stuff for a long time. So we're giving you guys a scoop. We're not giving you guys the trends. And so tap in with us, man. So Dan, go ahead and take us out.
Yeah. Just to finish it off, man, thank you guys for following us along. Subtitle shit, man, you are welcome. No problem. This is what we do. Feel free to DM us, either one of us, man. We're all very knowledgeable. We love Dynasty, we love redraft, we love auctions. There's so many things that we bring to the table for you guys, and we really do this for free. At the end of the day, we do this for fun and for free. We want to see you guys win your leagues, and hopefully that when you guys do win your leagues, let us know that you won.
Shout us out, man. Let us know, baby.
Yes, dog. Follow us
and
shout us out and give us a bunch of comments and likes, man. That's what's going to help grow the channel, and we really appreciate it. We got 30,000 on 30K. TikTok, man. That is a huge milestone for us. We've been wanting that for a minute.
All organic. All
organic. We don't buy our followers.
We don't buy our followers over here, baby.
So, but we absolutely appreciate you guys. Thank 100%. You guys for tuning in for us. And, we're going to wrap it up. But again, follow us everywhere and join us next week at 6 p.m. California time, Pacific Standard. And we are out, man. Peace.
We're out, baby. Yo, free draft kit dropping again. Updated version 2 dropping soon. Keep a lookout for that. So, but yeah, again, appreciate it. We out, baby.